It's another beautiful day to do business. We have 55 minutes to do current and relevant business talks here in Business Morning. I'm Ini John Mekwa. And we start as usual with what's going on in the global oil space. We see prices dipped in Asian trade today as oversupply concerns outweighed uncertainty over the impact of U.S. sanctions on Russia oil majors. Of course, those are Rosneft and Lukoil, and the optimism over progress towards the reopening of the U.S. government. So let's look at the numbers this morning. And then it's red. That's opposite of what we had at this time yesterday. For Brent, it's $63.79 a barrel, almost 0.5% down. WTI, 0.5% down. And it's gone less than $60. It's $59.83. And this has been described as the longest government shutdown in the United States history, and could end this week after the Senate approved a compromise to restore federal funding. The measure now moves to the House of Representatives, where Speaker Mike Johnson has indicated that he hopes to pass it as soon as Wednesday, that's tomorrow. While progress towards reopening the government has lifted markets broadly, concerns over crude oversupply, however, continue to pressure oil prices. OPEC production increases has also persisted. Global oil balances are turning increasingly bearish, while demand remains subdued amid slower economic growth in major oil-consuming nations. And then we see the market yesterday. We've talked about reactions from investors on the 30% capital gains tax, which starts in January. We've seen the NGX continue to bleed. So yesterday it was 0.5% in the red, as and brought us down to 148,781.90. The market cap at 94.52 trillion. It was a red activity chart. Gainers were ASO Savings, Deep Cap, and Cornerstone. More profit taken around the big guys. Losers, RT Briscoe, Link Assure, and NACO. And we saw the markets, of course, lose again. I believe yesterday we lost about 300 billion out of the market. Investors just took off. Large investors, we see them taking their profit just before that 30% can kick in. 30% on the gains can kick in. We'll have more conversations on that later on the program with Mr. Bismarck Rewane. So perhaps there are talks going behind the scene. Hopefully there'll be a more subtle approach by the government concerning that. Let's take a break now. When we come back, Business Morning will be here. Welcome back. Now let's head straight to our very first conversation for the day. And today we're discussing that very popular fintech which you may be using. I'm sure you have, well, I'm not sure, but perhaps you have the app on your phone and it's a regular use for you. It's Opay. Yes, Opay is here, and they're trying to tell us that they're not just about signing the checks and making money or doing transfers. They're also concerned with the welfare of the people, and they say they've been doing this through their CSR efforts. And one of them is in the education sector. To discuss more about this, although we have that event, it was covered some time ago by Channels Television. We will show you the visuals in a bit, but right here in the studio is Elizabeth Wong. Elizabeth Wong is the Chief Commercial Officer of Opay. Hey, Elizabeth, good morning and welcome to the program.
Yeah, welcome. Good morning.
Yeah. So we see that you are interested. You have your CSR initiative. How many of them? Which of them? We know you have the 10-year scholarship, which you started last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been doing? What has been happening in that space?
Okay, so we launched our 10 years scholarship last year. Actually, why we launched is because Opay, we have mission and visions. Our vision is that actually we aspire to become the most respected and popular financial technology company that actively create social value. Based on that one, we launched our 10-year scholarship. And then so far, actually, we signed the 10 years scholarship with 20 selected schools already. And then this year, we already delivered our first year commitment, which actually we dispersed 126 million to 420 students to 20 universities. Yeah.
So you already have the universities and the schools that you're working with. How did you choose them? Are you expanding? Are you getting more schools involved? What's the target at the end of your 10 years?
Actually, for our 10 years is that every year we're going to work with 20 universities to sponsor 400 students, actually. And then at the very beginning, starting from last year, we sent out the proposal to majority of the university in Nigeria. And then they were based on the one response to us first, that we select the 20 schools. That's why we signed the 10 years scholarship with them. And then the first year we've done, in the subsequent 9 years, we're going to deliver our commitment every year as well. Yeah.
So I see that some of the schools you're working with now include the University of Abu Zaria, University of Calabar, Olabisi Onabanjo, University of Abuja, University of Uyo. So it cuts across state and federal universities.
Yeah.
So is it just universities? Do you have the smaller catering schools, education status, maybe secondary schools or something like that?
Okay, actually for our current CSR, we focus on the university first. Yeah, so because we believe them are the futures of the countries, and then education also the futures of the countries as well. That's why we are here and we work together to improve the society, to make more contribution to the society. So currently we focus on the university first. Yeah.
And you said that you believe that education isn't just about tuition. What's that about?
We believe that, like I just mentioned, the young minds, the university, the students, education is very key for a country's to growth. And students are the ones that also the future of it, and they need support. That's why we come in there to align with our vision. Like I said, our vision is that we aspire to become the most respected and popular financial technology company that actively creates social values. So for our visions, we want to actively create social values to the society. That's why we align with our visions that we want to do the CSR, which actually is focused on education.
And we see that you're also doing campus upgrade initiative, relaxation centers and all of that. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. Actually, I think back to 2024, we also work with some of the schools that they want us to support them to renovate some of their campus, and then also maybe build a bus stop for them as well. So we also this part to support them as well. Yeah.
So you also have the Cyber Lab project.
Yes.
Yeah, what's that about?
So in the past 1 year, we traveled to all the 20 selected universities. We signed the MOU with them. And while in the interims, that the VC of University of Calabar reached out to say that in addition to the scholarship, can you support us for the Cyber Lab also, and then we think we can do it well. That's why we want to join it, because you see, Cyber Lab is also about tech. And Opay, we make financial service more inclusive through technology. We are also good at tech as well. So that's why this part we can do it. And we also are very good at cyber security part. So, okay, we can work with the school for this part, not just support them for the facilities, renovation, but also subsequently, every year, so we're going to send our people to give the lectures to the student there, to let them know the latest information, the latest technologies, so that they will be well equipped before they go to the society. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, what have you gleaned along the way when you talk about, in this interaction with students, talking about cybersecurity, technology, as you said, and how you send your people to go there and lecture them. What's the acceptance spirit or sentiment like?
Actually, I travel a lot to all the states, and then every time I travel to every state, I will went to the university to see the students, because Opay, majority of students have like Opay and use Opay as well. So I will talk with them. They like us, and then they quite fancy about our security product like Face ID. Everyone go there, they know it, and they talk about me, talk about this one. That's why we say that, okay, then why not we support in this part to let them know more about the technology behind. So that is the idea coming from. And then we are really appreciate for the student who love us so much as well. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to ask you about all of those features in a bit. But first of all, this 10-year scholarship, it's a 10-year. What do you intend to see, or what do you hope to see at the end of the 10 years? Started last year. This is the second year, October. And all of, so by the end of this program, this is your CSR program, what do you hope to see?
In our deep heart, we really hope that the students we sponsor, they really can have a brighter future. So, and then actually, first of all, we select the people, the students. We work with the school to select the students who really are very good and they really need financial support. We have a very strict criteria there. And they will disperse the money to the students' account directly, and we follow them every year. We hope that when they graduate, they will be very good. And some of them will also join Opay as an intern, and when they graduate, we also welcome to join Opay as a staff as well. So, so that is.
I know that will make a lot of students very happy. Come out of school and you don't have to look for a job, and you just have a job waiting for you. So tell us more about your security features. You talked about the Face ID. That's obviously very interesting to a lot of your users and all of that. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So for us, you see, for any user, they want a financial institutions, security is top one priority. And then that's why we listen to all the customers to come up with a lot of security features. So far, we have 8 security features. And one of the most famous one is our Face ID back technologies ones. Like when you need to transfer the money during the night, you need your Face ID. You want to transfer your big amount, you need to Face ID. Actually, this one is come from our customers. Because every day,
it was the customers who asked for it.
Yes.
Oh,
the customers say that, can you, 3 years ago, this product we developed since 3 years ago. The customer tell us, okay, can you develop something that is so secure that only myself can unlock my account, can do the transfer? I say, okay, so many security products, only your live face, not face, it's live face, then can protect you and you. So that's why 3 years ago, we developed in-house, developed all the features, and that's why we're coming from, all from our customers.
I know, right? That's
Everything is for them.
That's listening to your customer. That sounds,
Yeah.
that sounds good. But what else can we expect from Opay as you make your mark in the Nigerian economic scene and all of that? What are some of the plans that you have?
Yeah, actually, for our core values is that always customer first. For us is that we providing financial inclusion service here. Our future is that we want to focus on all our customers, regardless individual or merchants. We would like to provide the best solution, service to them so that they can enjoy better, which can help them their life and also help the business as well. That is the future we see. We believe that everything focus and listen to our customers, satisfies them, we will get the right future together. Yeah.
And for your CSR, I mean, I know you're doing education now. Any plans to go beyond education for your CSR?
So far, we still want to focus on educations. And like we did the 10 years, and then because of the VC's feedback, we expand to Cyber Lab. We want to focus on this one first, and then subsequently, I believe that based on our deepen in these areas, more engagement with the VCs or other society entities, we might expand as well. But the only one thing is that we really do something good for the society. That is our goal. Yeah.
And we, of course, we know that real impact is made over time. It's not just, you know, a quick thing.
Yeah.
Consistency and partnership. Are you partnering? Any partnership in the horizon?
Actually, we right now is Opay, we do it by ourselves because like I said, you see for the CSR, why we want to do it by ourselves? Because we work with the school, we set the criteria, we disperse the money to the student themselves. That means it's a real help because from us, end to end that we can control all the things, we really deliver what we promise to the people and really help them. That's why right now we take all the things ourselves. We even internally have a CSR team. We also have leagues for all the students. Regularly, we will call them to ensure that they're really on track. Yeah, that is
so. You know, the fintech scene in Nigeria is buzzing now. It's the in thing. How do you deal with competition? You know, to stay on top of the game. I'm not asking for your trade secret. I'm just asking.
Oh, actually, I would like to see the whole industry as a whole. We don't see any competitions here. We believe that only when you provide the best products, the best service to the customer, they will vote for you. And then actually it's the industry. We have different players that we collaborate so well together, so we deliver all the best service to all the customers. That is our goal. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Elizabeth. Well, we'll wait and see. You know, the fintech industry in Nigeria is really growing at this time. And of course, we wish you here in Channel, so we wish you the best as you continue, especially with this scholarship, because it's going to touch the life of a lot of youth. And so we really wish you the best. Elizabeth Wong, Chief Commercial Officer, Opay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, but let's just relive the moment of the launch of the scholarship, the 10-year scholarship program by Opay. We'll relive that moment a bit to conclude this conversation.
10-year scholarship, empowering futures.
Please welcome the Vice Chancellor of Bafemi Awolowo University, Professor Simeon Adebayo Bamire. Your hands together for him.
We appreciate you because you are supporting the government of this nation in enhancing the support for the educational sector. And this is not something we take for granted at all because we know its impact. So I want to use this opportunity to call on others to emulate what Opay is doing. 1.2 billion in the space of 10 years to various institutions. This is not a joke, and it's really highly appreciated.
please welcome the Vice Chancellor of the great University of Abuja, Professor Adamu Maki. Your hands together for them.
Sometimes when you make promise, it's difficult to fulfill. When they came on that particular day, we signed the agreement. It was more like a dream. And the day that money was paid to these 20 indigent students, most of them were weeping. And they were all in tears. Mr. Itoro here has videos of students so appreciative. Even this morning, while the program was going on, when we had students giving testimonials about what's the impact of the scholarship on them, most people around my table were very emotional, and I saw people in tears. Thank you very much, Opay. Keep it up. We look up to the remaining 9 years of this promise to the students. God bless you all.
University of Jos, Professor Tanko Ishaya, the Vice Chancellor.
This is a lifeline for our students. I know that the federal government has given a seeming lifeline called the NEL Fund, but it's a loan, and that loan will be paid. But this is free. That's why initially I had called it a benevolent gesture. A lot of the corporate social responsibilities by banks and other organizations is in sports. But I think you will be one of the few who will do that in education. And it will help a lot in managing the crisis of students in accessing higher education. Thank you.
Well, let's take a break now. When we come back, it's a full conversation that we have for you. So, you know, we've been talking about the issue of the capital gains tax and what that has been doing to the domestic stock market. Since last week, we've seen trillions. I think one day last week, we had more than 1 trillion taken away from the market. We'll discuss that. And then also, Dangote is in the news again, his expansion, Dangote Cement this time, and other issues connected to that. We'll do that after the break. Please stay with us. Just before we delve right into that conversation, one of Nigeria's leading integrated agro-industrial company, Ellah Lakes PLC, they took center stage at the Nigerian Exchange Limited yesterday with the presentation of its facts behind the offer to investors. The event was a platform for the company's management to engage capital market community, share insight into their recent performance expansion strategy and information behind its latest offering.
Ellah Lakes.
It's a major day for Ellah Lakes PLC as capital market operators, investors and regulatory stakeholders gather on the Nigerian Exchange Limited for 2 major milestone announcements by the agribusiness firm. The company officially makes known the acquisition of Agro-Allied Resources and Processing Nigeria, ARPN, and the raising of 235 billion naira from the stock market through the issuance of 18.8 billion ordinary shares of 50 kobo each at 12 naira 50 kobo per share. The Chief Executive Officer of the company, Mr. Chuka Modi, gives his expectation on the company's long-term expansion plans through ARPN acquisition and fresh injection of the funds.
We've gone into oil palm and we're diversifying into livestock. So in the last year, we've installed our palm oil mill, a crude palm oil mill, so we're now finally productive. And I'd like to think we keep to our promises. Over the last 3 years, we've been engaging in deploying our capex. We've been planting over the last 3 years, and this financial year we finally achieved turnover and revenue. So I'm very, very grateful for the shareholders who have stayed with us over the long term. We've also diversified into livestock. By the end of the year, we should have 1,500 pigs on our piggery. And I think in the short to medium term, by the end of next year, we're on course already to become the largest integrated piggery in Nigeria.
Some shareholders and potential shareholders ask questions.
For people to understand your 2 years in dividend coming, is that the variety of palm tree that we are planting, what is the fruition stage? How many years does it need to grow before it begins to produce fruits? because it's from the fruits that you get the palm oil.
In our first full year of production, we expect to make revenues of 24 billion naira. And I think that's a very, very significant jump from where we are at the present time. And if you factor in 24 billion naira into what we're trading at the present time and our post-acquisition shares in issue, I think this is 12 naira 50 kobo is a very, very good price. I mean, of course, I would say this because I'm the CEO, but 12 naira 50 kobo is ground entry for anyone. And as Jude said, I don't expect that we will trade at this level anytime in the near future going forward, because once we close this transaction, it's a very transformational change in terms of the nature of Ellah Lakes PLC.
Other executives of Ellah Lakes also shed light on the company's growth outlook, investment opportunities, and contribution to Nigeria's agricultural value chain.
From the new asset, in terms of when we buy it, there's significant upside, and it's a rather large asset of 20,000 hectares, of which 9,000 or 10,000's already been planted. That fruit is fruiting at the moment. As soon as the transaction is concluded, we'll be buying a mill, and within 10 to 12 months, we'll be processing palm oil directly, and that'll catapult our numbers. We'll by the end of next year, we'll rocket straight to 25 to 30 billion worth of revenue. So we'll see scale both financially and operationally from the transaction.
This is a scale business. Agri-Allied and Resource Processing Company Nigeria Limited. It's a farm that we're buying. It's a farm that has 5 years of gestation of palm produce. We also are into the oil palm business itself, so there's synergies in that it's what we know best, you know. So it gives us scale.
The offer, which opens on Monday, November the 10th and closes on Friday, December the 5th, marks a defining milestone in Ellah Lakes' transformation journey and expansion strategy. With its latest move, Ellah Lakes PLC looks to strengthen its operations and consolidate its position as a key player in Nigeria's agricultural landscape.
All right, from Ellah Lakes to another company, ThyssenKrupp Fertiliser Technology is a subsidiary of ThyssenKrupp and has entered into a strategic agreement with Dangote Fertiliser Limited to license its advanced UFT fluid bed granulation technology for 4 new urea granulation units in Nigeria. The agreement includes the provision of technology license, a comprehensive process design package, and the supply of proprietary equipment such as granulators and scrubbers. Each of the 4 new units will have a nameplate capacity of 4,235 metric tons per day, significantly boosting DFL's annual urea granule production from approximately 2.65 million tons to over 8 million tons. And these units will be constructed in Lekki, adjacent to the DFL's existing fertilizer complexes, which have been operating with UFT technology since 2021 and produce 3,850 metric tons every day. The new facilities will incorporate UFT's energy-efficient scrubbing system designed to minimize pressure drop while effectively controlling dust and ammonia emissions to meet stringent environmental standards. So this is another expansion by Dangote, but this time not about the refinery, but about the fertilizer. We have Mr. Bismarck Rewane here to tell us perhaps what to expect and a whole lot more we have to discuss with Mr. Rewane. Mr. Rewane, good morning.
Good morning.
Not a stranger, obviously, but good to have you physically in the
you.
studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so this expansion of Dangote and partnering with this German company, what can we expect from it?
I think the way to look at the Dangote group is to say that they're doing 2 things at the same time. They're diversifying and also integrating backwards and also forward. That leads to a lot of efficiency, reduces average cost, and actually enhances the position of the client and the customer and gets more value for money. So you must remember that 10 years ago, we were producing only 1 million tons of fertilizer a year. Now we're up to about 8 or 9 million tons. We are now Nigeria is expected to earn at least $3 to $4 billion from fertilizer this year alone. It's actually overtaking cocoa. Cocoa, even at the high price of $12,000 per ton, which it was last year, we're getting about $3 billion. Now it's dropped down to $6,000 per ton, and we are now almost about $2.5 billion. So, one, it helps the country diversify its earnings stream and export earnings. It also helps the company make sure that its revenues are insulated from shocks.
And you know, because a lot of Nigerians have not been feeling very comfortable. We hear of a partner, Dangote, whether it's the refinery or the fertilizer or the cement, partnering other countries, and we're like, nobody's going to take our own from us and all of that. But I guess it all comes back home when we talk about benefits.
Yeah, the way to look at it is that the democratization of ownership. You partner with international leaders in industry, but also Dangote has promised to get listed, the refinery to be listed sometime next year, and that will bring a lot of everybody, you know, widows and orphans, to the market to benefit from this whole thing. But I think the most important thing to talk about is this 15% import levy. Is it good or is it bad for Nigeria? I think that's the key thing. There's been a lot of debate. And you have to ask yourself, would this levy lead to higher inflation? Would it lead to higher prices? Will it lead to fewer jobs? So when you put all of these things together, you have to ask yourself a question. But let us start from knowing what are the facts about the downstream industry. The downstream industry there are 33,000 petrol stations in Nigeria today, across, the leader being Total and then others. Nigeria is supposedly consuming 45 million liters of petrol every day, PMS. We don't know whether that is true, but let us assume that is true. Dangote's refinery, largest single train refinery in the world, 650,000 barrels, now to be expanded to 1.4 million barrels. Dangote refinery produces PMS, AGO, and DPK. NNPC and the other refineries have about 5% of the market. And the independent marketers are importing. Now the question is, if you put a levy on imports, will it be good for Nigeria? Will it increase the price? So Dangote yesterday announced a drop in the gantry price to 822 naira per liter from 870 or whatever. Now, historically, in the old colonial times, we had what they call the infant protection industry argument. What it meant is that you protect local industries. When they take off, then you now lift the ban. But the experiment failed because the infant industries remained infants and never grew. Now, but after 1999, the government made a conscious decision to protect certain industries targeted to, and we have to look at what happened. So if you look at protection, you have to look at the historical antecedents and say, okay, this is what happened. Cement, poultry, fertilizer, palm oil, beverages, breweries, pharmaceuticals, flour milling, and rice milling. So in this year alone, our GDP, which is growing, now at 4.23%, this year alone, you will see that most of these industries, especially brewing, cement is growing at about 10%, the brewing industry at about 30%, pharmaceuticals growing sharply. We also have rice milling and palm oil. Now, the question is, let us take three particular industries. And I'm going to quote, nothing succeeds like success. That was what Bobby Moore, the captain of England in 1966 World Cup, told Pele when he said, oh, you're the best goalkeeper in the world. And he said, no, nothing succeeds like success. Now, let us take the palm oil industry. Palm oil industry, 10 years ago, in 2014, was having a turnover of 8.65 billion naira total, right? Today, Okomo oil is actually generating 231 billion from 8 billion in turnover. The dividends paid by Okomu Oil in 2014 was 95.95, that is 1 billion. Today they're paying dividends of 23 billion naira. They went from what the government did, imposed a 35% import duty in 2001, increased it to 50%, and made palm oil ineligible for foreign exchange. Now, total market capitalization of the two palm oil producers is now 2.79 trillion. The taxes they paid, their total assets are 117 billion naira. And the dividends they paid, of course, I told you was 22. Now let's go to cement, which is a very interesting one. The tariffs were increased to 35 to 50. Import restrictions were imposed when Obasanjo was in government. The installed capacity of Nigerian cement was 2 million tons. Now we are a net exporter. We are producing more than 70 million tons of. So you have Lafarge, Bua, Dangote. Total market capitalization of this sector is 19 trillion naira. 19 trillion naira. The dividends they paid last year was 502 billion. The total assets are 6 trillion naira, and profit after tax is over 1 trillion naira. I think that it's important to know that. If you go into the brewing industry as well, you'll find that what the government did was to ban the importation of barley and introduce import licensing at that time in 1986. Today, the brewing industry, when you take Guinness, Nigerian breweries, and others, they are paying out dividends, even in a bad year, of over 8 billion naira out there. So, what am I saying in short is that you protect industries to allow them grow, to become more competitive because they have a critical mass, but you don't do it at the expense of the consumers. So you have the Consumer Protection Agency, and anybody who wants to invest in the refining business can invest in refining because they have over 30 licenses, only about 2 or 3 are producing. So you do not protect inefficiency, you protect efficiency. So Dangote in the last year has reduced prices at least 9 times, right? And the petrol in Nigeria is at about 70 cents a liter compared to $1.25, $1.40 in Cameroon, Benin Republic, and Niger. So it has helped to reduce the demand for foreign exchange. And you can see that the Naira has appreciated in the last year by over 11 or 12%. Part of the reason for that is this. It has created jobs, it has reduced logistics costs for companies. Because if you look at corporate earnings and performance and cost structure, you will find that there's the greatest component of their costs are logistics, followed by finance, then followed by exchange rate volatility. So if you bring the logistics costs down because of the price of petrol coming down, you have actually reduced the cost of companies, increased their margins, increased their profitability, and given them opportunity to employ more people. I think it's very important that we note that.
But Mr. Ryan, did you see any change on this 15% import? Is that a possibility?
That the government will reduce it? No. Why do you have to reduce it? The point is that if anybody wants to invest in refining in the country, let them invest here. We don't need to buy imported products because that means you're creating jobs in other countries. And let's sit back and look at how the refining industry is going. It's a high volume, low margins, and it's now having what they call hub and spoke strategy. The West African hub, the West and Central African hub, is in Nigeria. We are exporting refined products across the entire region. You have hubs in Singapore, in Rotterdam, in Houston, in Mexico. So for you to compete, you need a critical mass. And the critical mass helps you to reduce your average cost and pass it on to the consumer. And I tell you something, when MTN and all the Glo and V-Mobile, right, Airtel came in, it was 50 or 60 naira per minute for calls. When they grew and invested heavily, today you're having calls per second calls and all of that.
Yeah.
And a SIM card that time was God knows what. Now a SIM card is zilch, is zero.
Yes.
So I think.
So, Mr. Rand, there's another issue I would like for you to wade into, which is the capital gains tax. I've spoken to a couple of stockbrokers, and they tell me that it's the reason why we are having a lot of profit taking in the market.
There's no difference between a reason and an excuse, right? So, but the reality is not the only reason. It is one of the reasons, right? The reality is that the reason why capital gains tax is lower than corporate income tax is to encourage people to invest, right? Because if they invest, investment is a form of savings. If they invest, those savings become investable funds, and those investments has a multiplier effect on the economy. If they don't invest or if they disinvest, which is what is happening right now, it has a negative multiplier effect. So what you are seeing today, apart from the whole fear of the Trump threat on Nigeria, is the fact that people, if you made a gain of 100 billion naira by selling your shares today, assuming that you bought MTN shares, you bought Okomo Oil shares, you bought Guinness shares, and you would have made maybe 200%, 300%. If you made 100 billion naira gain, and this month, you will pay 10 billion naira, 10 billion naira as withholding, capital gains tax. If you wait until January, you will pay 30 billion. So you are giving 20 billion back to the government, right? So, which you would have reinvested and done more and more. So, no matter how beautiful the earnings of the companies are, people are taking their position on the fact that it's better to have the money in your pocket. It's better to cry with money in your pocket than to cry in an empty pocket. So you are going to see this continue in spite of other threats. And my suggestion one is reduce the capital gains tax 10 back to 10 or 15, or defer the implementation date, because we don't need anything that will frighten investors, both domestic and international. We need this just as much as we need a bullet in our heads.
We don't need a bullet in our heads. Well, I hear there's a lot of communication and intervention going on, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to yield any fruit, and we're already in November. It's just a month in between before we get to December. We'll see what happens there. But there's also, we're expecting inflation numbers in about 4 days, normally on the 15th. And once again, FDC is
projecting 17.54.
A moderation. But we know that in the last month, we've seen increase in petrol and all of that. Isn't that supposed to lead to a rise?
Technically speaking and theoretically speaking, it should. But what we've noticed is that, first of all, there's a lag between when decisions are made and when the impact is felt. There's a time lag. At times, it's short lags, at times there are long lead times, right? But what we've noticed is that there was an 11% increase in the price of PMS. But last time when the prices came down, we did not see any reduction in transport fares, right? Consumer prices were sticky downwards and transporters were watching. Now that the price has increased, we've also not noticed any increase in transport fares because of volatility, people are not sure whether you are buying yesterday's petrol or tomorrow's petrol. But what I can tell you is that come December 1st, there's going to be this seasonal effect. Demand for foodstuff will increase. Demand for traveling increases. Some people travel only once a year. And so if that is the case, then you would have that natural increase. But we are talking, this projection is for the month of October. This actually came in sometime towards the end. So you will not feel that impact. What we are seeing also is a carryover and carry forward of this thing. Don't forget, in the month of October, from September to October, we had a sharp reduction in money supply growth, one. Two, we also noticed that the Naira appreciated almost cumulatively about 11%. And nothing is more potent to drive price increases or price decreases than the exchange rate. So you have the exchange rate, you have the price of gasoline and petrol, and you have the money supply growth. All of these factors were moving positively. However, like they say, one day is a long time in politics, and 1 year is a long time in economics. So what we are going to see is that we think that October inflation would moderate, but November will flatline, and we may begin to see an increase in December. The outlook, therefore, is that the central bank will meet sometime this month, about 24th and 25th. We believe that it was almost clear that the central bank was going to bring down rates. Central bankers by nature are cautious and conservative, and they will rely on the data. If the inflation data comes out for October and they project that there's an elevated risk of an increase in inflation, then you may see that the central bank may sit back and say, okay, let's hold and see, have a wait and see, very cautious approach.
I guess that looks more likely at this time, you know, just to see the impact of the last cut and see where we're going to with all of the sticky prices. But thank you so much, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, for your time on the program and sharing your findings with us. We appreciate.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now we'll head to the global scene. Yeah, one of the biggest stories around the world now is coming from the United States. The U.S. Senate has approved a compromise that would end the longest government shutdown in that country's history, breaking a weeks-long stalemate that has disrupted food benefits for millions, left hundreds of thousands of federal workers unpaid, and snared air traffic. The 60 to 40 votes passed with the support of nearly all of the chamber's Republicans and 8 Democrats, who unsuccessfully sought to tie government funding to health subsidies that are due to expire at the end of the year, while the agreement sets up a December vote on those subsidies, which benefit 24 million Americans. It does not guarantee that they will continue. The deal will restore funding for federal agencies that lawmakers allowed to expire on October 1 and would stall President Donald Trump's campaign to downsize the federal workforce, preventing any layoffs until January 30. It next heads to the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, where Speaker Mike Johnson has said that he would like to pass it as soon as Wednesday and send it on to Trump to sign into law. Trump has called the deal to reopen the government very good. The deal would extend funding through January 30, leaving the federal government for now on a path to keep adding about $1.8 trillion a year to its $38 trillion in debt, coming a week after Democrats won high-profile elections in New Jersey, Virginia, and elected a Democratic Socialist as the next mayor of New York City. The deal has provoked anger among many Democrats, who note that there's no guarantee that the Republican-controlled Senate or House would agree to extend the health insurance subsidies. And the top U.S. consumer watchdog has said that it was legally prohibited from drawing cash from the Federal Reserve to support continuing operations, but that its current funding should last through the end of this year, at least. The U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has declined funding since President Donald Trump took control in February, with Trump and acting director Russell Watt having called for the agency's elimination. Its workforce faces mounting uncertainty over the CFPB's ability to continue to pay them or offer severance, while a legal battle plays out over the Trump administration's plans to fire the vast majority of staff. In a statement, the agency said that the administration's legal opinion held that because the Federal Reserve System was not currently reporting combined earnings under the 2010 statute, which created the CFPB, the agency could not lawfully draw funding from the central bank. The CFPB receives its funding directly from the Federal Reserve, unlike federal agencies for which Congress appropriates money annually. And now Thailand has suspended the peace process with Cambodia agreed last month alongside U.S. President Donald Trump after Thai soldiers were injured by landmines along their border. All terms in the joint declaration will be suspended, and the plan to release Cambodian detainees will be terminated, according to Defense Minister. And after a meeting of the National Security Council, his comments echo Prime Minister's comment on the issue, which he shared yesterday. The safe haven yen hit its lowest since February on Tuesday, while riskier currencies were firm against the dollar as traders anticipate an end to the long U.S. government shutdown. The yen remained under pressure, however, as Japan's new prime minister has called for policymakers to go slow on interest rate hikes at the same time as U.S. policymakers have turned cautious on further cuts. The euro was steady at 1.155 and sterling has been creeping higher, 1.3165, and the U.S. Senate, we know, passed that deal yesterday that's supposed to restore activities of the U.S. government. Now, Japan's three largest banking groups are expected to post healthy second quarter earnings on Friday, staying on track for record annual profit forecasts for this financial year. And despite geopolitical uncertainty and a dovish new Japanese prime minister, a strong showing would add to evidence that Mitsubishi Financial Group, Sumitomo Financial Group, and others are capable of riding global volatility and that capitalize on growing loan demand from large Japanese companies as the country exits deflation. Nearby China, China is making it harder for some state-owned companies to borrow overseas, expanding a campaign to rein in local government debt risks, according to people who are close to the local government. Well, the National Development and Reform Commission, China's top economic planning agency, has in recent weeks set tighter criteria, including those for profitability and business scope, for regional level state-owned enterprises to get additional offshore debt quotas for this year. Still staying in China, the country is willing to resume exchanges with Canada and cooperate in various fields, according to its foreign minister. He said this to the Canadian counterparts without specifying the sectors. And then Foreign Minister Wang Yi said that China is willing to strengthen communication with Canada, adding that the diplomatic, commercial, and other departments of both countries could enhance coordination and properly address their respective concerns. That's it on Business Morning today. Thank you so much for do it again tomorrow. But before then, I'll see you at 1:30 for Business Incorporated. I'll give you updates from the world of business in 25 minutes. I'm John Mekwa. I'll talk to you then.